Hello, this is Bob Ryan. It's July the 18th, and I'm going to be reading to you the buzz for this week, which is coming and going. In life, and certainly in the sports world, players and teams are always coming and going. It's just a part of life. Take a look at the coming and going in the St. Louis sports world. Some are recent, some are a long while ago, but they still sting, some of them. The most recent coming and going applies to the MLB All-Star Game. Several of the players voted in by the fans have declined the invitation to play in that All-Star Game. A wide variety of reasons are used to decline the invitation. Most fans don't buy them. A wide variety of the reasons make you think that this is a thing that the players really don't want to support, but it does go into helping them out in their retirement. But right now in 2025, the players are upset because a rookie pitcher, Jacob Misiorowski, has been added to the All-Star roster. He's only pitched in 5 major league games. He's a 6'7" rookie with a very good fastball. His record is 4-1 for the season. He has a 2.81 earned run average and has 33 strikeouts and has only given up 12 hits in his 25 2/3 innings. He's thrown a 100.5 fastball for his first pitch of his career. My thoughts are, I'm happy to see a fresh face who's really anxious to play in the All-Star Game. So many Major League players are upset with the squad of appointing him. My feelings are, the players who stepped aside for various reasons, some valid, some not so much, have no say in this matter. Although the fans choose the All-Star players yet, some MLB players are unhappy about his naming to the roster. I'm wondering, why aren't they unhappy with the original players who turned down their spot? Are they all really hurt? Moving on, next topic. Going, on the way out. I don't think there will be an All-Star Game much longer. It originated so we could see the star players from both leagues. Currently, we already can see the stars from both leagues playing regular season baseball with the new intra-league schedule and the almost universal chance to watch the vast majority of games at our house. The new schedule that has each team play every other team makes it possible for us to watch all the players in the regular season. We really don't need the All-Star Game to see the MLB's best players. Moving on, next topic. Further, do we need to really be supporting the MLB players financially? Anyway, do they need our support financially? Their salary is $760,000 if they're playing at minimum pay. I'd like to start a petition to abolish the All-Star Game. Send it to going to the good old days when the players really wanted to be there. The new 4-day layoff extends to what is already a long 6-month season. The World Series this year will probably end around mid-October. So counting spring training and all the regular season, postseason, that's 8 months of baseball. That's more than enough. Unless your team's in the World Series, you're tired of it. At least I am. I'd propose sending the All-Star Game going down the road to the same spot that once saw pitchers batting for themselves in Major League games. The next topic. The highlight of the MLB season should be the World Series. Since 1973, the lowest viewing numbers in the World Series were in recent years. In 2023, 9.02 million watched the 5 series games. Second fewest viewership was 9.75 million in 6 games in 2020. The third lowest viewing numbers for the World Series was 2021. In 6 games, there were 11.744 million viewers. So 3 of the last 6 World Series games are listed in the lowest numbers of viewing World Series games. That's not a good trend for the Major League Baseball. The most viewed World Series games were watched way back in 1978. The second most viewed was in 1980, and third view most watched was 1981. I guess the MLB owners and players can't or don't want to see it slide if your most important game of the year is declining in viewership. I'd be worried. I'd get going and finding ways to improve interest in the World Series. Next topic. Despite being gone over 70 years ago, there are many baseball fans from St. Louis who miss the St. Louis Browns. The Browns going to Baltimore in 1953 is still moaned about in some St. Louis baseball quarters. The move was approved on September 28, 1953, when the MLB owners unanimously agreed upon the move of the St. Louis Browns to Baltimore. The move followed a season in which the Browns went 44 wins and 100 losses, and the attendance was scarce, very scarce. They drew a tiny crowd of only 3,174 games to their season finale, an 11-inning loss to Chicago. The final straw was when Gussie Busch bought the Cardinals in 1953. The Browns owners realized immediately that they did not have the financial ability to compete with Gussie for the caliber of players needed to be successful. So they quickly sold the team, then moved them to Baltimore in late '53. Next topic. Despite the departure of the St. Louis Browns decades ago, the last two Browns players, Ed Mickelson and Billy Hunter, have just passed away in recent times. Mickelson was often referred to as the last Brown in town. He coached high school baseball in the Lou at U City for 12 years, from '58 to '70, then coached Parkway Central for 13 more years. Mickelson himself bounced up and down from the major leagues to the minors with the St. Louis Browns, although he did leave a few historical moments for the Cards and Browns. Unfortunately for him, the 1941 coming of Stan Musial to the Cardinals shortened his career. Mickelson was good, but Stan was one of the best players of all time. In Mickelson's first game as a starter, Stan wasn't feeling well. He faced Hall of Fame player Warren Spahn. No brag there. Spahn was a Hall of Fame pitcher, the left-hander from the Brewers. Spahn twirled a two-hitter that day, and Mickelson had one of those two hits, a fact that he never forgot. He bounced back and forth in professional baseball, minors to majors, several times. Then he moved on to the St. Louis Browns. He played in their final game before moving to Baltimore and drove in the final run of a 2-1 loss to the Brewers. Justifiably, Mickelson was proud of that special moment. This historic RBI occurred on September 27, 1953, in a 2-1 loss. Mickelson just passed away on June 27th of 2025 at the ripe old age of 98 years old. Another player was Billy Hunter, who coached baseball several years at Towson U, which is close to Baltimore, after his retirement from Major League Baseball. Both players left many memories related to the Browns. Billy Hunter started with St. Louis Browns as a shortstop. Hunter batted .219 with 16 home runs, which is a very high number for that era, 144 RBIs, and 630 games over his 6-year, 53 to 58 career. He then moved to become a coach at Baltimore. Remember, the Browns had moved to Baltimore, and a manager for Texas. Hunter was the last Browns player when he passed away on July 3rd, 2025, just recently, at the age of 97 years old. Next topic. The Browns may have moved from St. Louis earlier, except for the war, Second World War, concerns on the horizon. Just prior to Pearl Harbor in 1941, the Browns had plans of moving to Los Angeles. The bombing of Pearl Harbor instantly ushered in World War II and crushed any ideas of the Browns moving to LA at that moment. By the time the war had ended, those plans had passed by. Next topic. The Browns, even after all these decades, have interest still here in St. Louis. Many remember some of the Browns players who often became stars later in their careers. Some of them were George Sisler, Don Larson, who could forget his perfect game, Bob Turley, longtime pitcher, slugger Roy Sievers, Satchel Paige, Tommy Lasorda, who we remember more as a Dodger manager, Bill Veeck, who became an owner, Pete Gray, Ned Garvey, and of course, the one at bat of the midget, Eddie Goodell. All wore the Browns uniform at some point in their career. I myself was too young to see the Browns play, but reading about them makes them seem like they're a real set of characters who could play good, very good baseball. The going for the Browns happened over 70 years ago, yet there still is an interest in St. Louis area about the Browns. Next topic. Another team that St. Louis has seen coming and going with the St. Louis Hawks. For you younger readers, that was an NBA team. The St. Louis Hawks played in the NBA from 55 to 68 in St. Louis. Hawks won the Western Division 6 times during that time. They reached the NBA championship round twice, but lost both times to the Celtics. Hawks finished the 67-68 regular season with the 56-26 record, but lost in division semifinals first round to the San Francisco Warriors. But the Hawks really, really blew it. They traded away Bill Russell, who would lead the Celtics to several championships as a dominating player at center. He blocked shots, great passer, great rebounder. They traded him away for Cliff Hagan, who was a hometown star, and Ed McCauley. McCauley grew up right here in St. Louis. Russell became the superstar for 13 years in the NBA. He led them to 11 NBA championships. Super rebounder, could start the fast break quickly and control the boards and defense on the inside for the Celtics. Next topic. After the 1958 NBA Finals, the Hawks had their peak home attendance in the next 3 seasons, averaging 8,548 fans in 58-59, 8,409 fans in 59-60, and their highest, 8,561 in the 60-61 season. They were coached by Richie Guerin and bolstered by many standout players, some as Zelmo Beatty, Lenny Wilkins, Joe Caldwell, Bill Bridges, Paul Silas, and Lou Hudson. The Hawks opened the 67-68 season by winning 16 out of the first 17 games. Yeah, they were 16-1, but ticket sales remained flat, according to owner Ben Kerner. Kerner was very unhappy with the attendance in his final year in St. Louis. He took a real blast at the St. Louis upon his departure when he claimed that the fans weren't attending the games because the team had too many African-American players. I guess he never attended any St. Louis Cardinal games with stars like Lou Brock, Ozzie Smith, Bob Gibson, Vince Coleman, and many, many, many other African-American favorites. Once Kerner decided to move his franchise, it was just a matter of where. He was going to take his team to Atlanta for the following season. His going away from the Lou was sad for me. I was an NBA fan, a Hawk fan, and many other basketball fans. My favorite Hawk was Slater Doogie Martin. He was a point guard, and I had hoped to be a point guard myself. Next topic. Further, in that same year, 67-68, the St. Louis Blues were coming to the Lou. That was another factor. No doubt, the hockey basketball season did coincide and even conflict with each other, although it wasn't cited directly by Kerner on his way out. He sold the team to an Atlanta group that closed the deal in a hurry. Hence, the Atlanta Hawks were formed, and they're still in the NBA. Next topic. Yet another STL team that was coming and going with the St. Louis Soccer Stars team. The St. Louis Stars played in the North American Soccer League from 67 to 77. They were known for their focus on local American talent, which was a novel thought in this entire NASL team, who relied almost exclusively on foreign players. St. Louis fans wanted winning teams and St. Louis homegrown players. Can you have both? Next topic. Coming and going in the MLB and the NFL are expected to be high. The annual turnover rate on an MLB roster is typically around 40 to 50%. That means each year, roughly 40% to 50% of a team's roster will be different from the previous year. I would have thought that the NFL would have a higher turnover rate, but the turnover rate on the NFL roster on the average is between 35 and 40% turnover rate when considering only the 53-man active roster. If practice squad players from the previous year are also included, the turnover rate's closer to 25 to 35%. So baseball has a much higher turnover rate than the NFL. Next topic. Of course, the quickest teams to come and go in St. Louis were the Rams. Yeah, I was a Rams football fan and a homer. I followed them very closely. Like almost all the NFL fans, I was frustrated and bitter when Stan Kroenke moved to L.A. I saw a millionaire moving a team to make more money. Like many fans, I boycotted the NFL games on TV for a while. But upon retrospect, the NFL really didn't have the desire to stop him. I mean, L.A. versus St. Louis. If you were an outsider and had to pick one or the other, I think we know who you'd pick. Which area has more fans, more people, and far more money? Upon retrospect, I understand his motive, but to still follow it was hard to do for me. After a couple of years of straight arm in the NFL, I went back to watching them. Heck, they are the best football players in the world. Further, the percentage of close games that are decided in the last 2 minutes of each game makes the game exciting. Last year, an NFL team trailing in the final 2 minutes rallied to win in 18 different games. Next topic. Prior to the Rams, St. Louis was the home of the St. Louis Football Cardinals from 1960 to 1987. There's been lots of coming and going with this franchise. Only 3 times did the Big Red reach the playoffs, 74, 75, and 82. It was strange to me from the very beginning. With the St. Louis Cardinals well established, wouldn't it have seemed logical to change the name of the football team when they arrived to St. Louis? While the Big Red did have some good seasons, they've never won a Super Bowl, even to today. In fact, they've only played in 1 Super Bowl, losing 27-23, Super Bowl 43 to Pittsburgh. And they are just one of 12 NFL teams without a Super Bowl title. The seemingly endless seasons of mediocrity eventually led to fan apathy, then lower attendance. The team is still owned by the Bidwells. It's moved to the next generation, now to Michael Bidwell, the son of Bill Bidwell. Right now, from the outside, things don't look much different. Last year, 2024, Arizona was 28th of 32 NFL teams in attendance. 28th of 32. In 2023, they were 30th in the NFL in attendance. Coming and going isn't limited to teams. There are plenty of coming and going with college coaches, football and basketball changing all the time. Too many of them to list here. Probably the leader of the pack in this category to me is Rick Pitino. Pitino's coached at many different college basketball programs, having led 8 different programs to the NCAA tournament. He wins games with his teams, then moves on. He's the first coach to take 3 different schools to the NCAA Final Four, so he knows what he's doing. And he won an NCAA championship at 2 different schools, according to Iona University Athletics. He's coached at Boston, Providence, the University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, Iona, University of Hawaii, New Mexico, and currently at St. John's. You don't think Ismail has trouble finding him, do you? There are many, many more examples of college coaches coming and going. Well, it's been fun coming and going with you with the St. Louis teams, but now is the going part of the buzz for me. Thanks for listening, our rating. Any comments on any of the ideas above are always invited. And thanks to Ed McKee for the suggestion and much of the info that he provided on the Browns. There's always coming and going with ideas for the weekly sports buzz. Have a good week as time continues to come and go. So long.